If a free society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot save the few who are rich.
Passionate, committed, and enigmatic.
His humanity. There are very few people that I've met in my life. I mean, he is so kind. He's such a very generous person.
You're going to the campaign rally and you say to Akuffo-Addo, pick up this child for the cameras. He won't do it.
Whilst I disagree with the court's decision, I accept it. I accept that what the court says brings finality to the election dispute. We shall not be asking for a review of the verdict, so we can all move on in the interest of our nation.
By the power vested in me as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and the returning officer for the presidential election, it is my duty and my privilege to declare Nana Addo Dankwa Akuffo-Addo as the President-elect of the Republic of Ghana.
Nana Addo Dankwa Akuffo-Addo has been a political actor for more than 40 years. But before that, this 73-year-old man was encouraged by his father to grasp the knowledge of the world by reading.
When we were all out also and allowed to go and play, Nana Addo was made to read and read and read. Sometimes you'd walk into his room, and to make the posture of the reading easier for him, he'd have both his legs up on the wall, lying on the bed, reading. And actually my sister and I used to feel sorry for him. Yes, because my father actually made him read so much. He says he doesn't mind if it's comics. He says he should read trash. He should read serious books. He should read everything.
He started his primary education at the government boys' school in Adabraka and later at the Row Road School, now Kimbu, both in Accra Central.
Time of the one only in 1947. Now I'm a driver, Dankwa, Dr. Dankwa, late. And the papa, a friend Edward Akuffo-Addo. Oh yeah, president, the Kurakakra, ceremonial president. And the 47 now. 47. Near community. Akuffo-Addo, ne papa. The fee, you go to Akuffo-Addo. Lawyer. And fee our children hospital. Swallow Baho baby.
I was born in Swalaba. My father had moved to Betty House at the time when all the big events took place. So 1948 was some of my very first memories. They coincided, or they were made by the 28th February riots. They took place just before I was 4 years old.
Wow.
Yes. And I remember that was like a turning point in my life because there were so many people who were coming in out of the house, my father, Grandpa Dankwa, Uncle Chebi, all of them moving around, going out, coming in. And I knew something really dramatic had occurred. Even though I was a little 4-year-old, I could feel it, and very excited. I was very, very excited about the events, and also thinking that somehow or rather, whatever it was that my father was doing, which brought this excitement and all these people, was something that I would like to do.
I believe that the source of Nana's confidence was during our youth. The 6 pillars that Ghana, the modern Ghana state, were built on were part of our lives. They were in our house the whole time, talking about colossal movements. And as a young lad, he was interested in these people, and he became their young friend. He was always walking in and out of their meetings, and I think he developed his passion and his strength from that.
Nana Addo recalls how he would sit on Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's lap during such meetings. With the flame of politics ignited in his heart and mind, Nana Addo grew imbued with an unyielding desire to serve his nation. But as a young lad, he had a very vibrant outdoor life.
We first met at the Accra Sports Stadium. I was then the captain of Ghana Academicals, playing for Ghana Republicans. So we were having a training session at the Accra Sports Stadium. And he had just arrived from England, I think, from England. And his uncle, one Gadisberg Ofurata, brought him to the stadium, to train, to practice. He was a young guy who wanted to play football. So he was made to play with us. And he was obviously enamored with the type of football I was playing, and he wanted, and it was during at that time that Ohinija himself, because of his styles, named him Bob Negro. He was a footballer himself. He played for the Republicans in his youth, and my support for the premiership is Tottenham Hotspur, and so is his. He's a great supporter of Tottenham Hotspur. So there too we find ourselves in the same boat.
When he came back from school in the holidays, Ohinija encouraged him and wanted him actually to join the Black Stars. So he did come home one day and declared that he wanted to stop all his studies and become a footballer.
In a prep school in England, I boxed. I stopped then. But I continued to play the other sports, cricket, football, soccer, and squash. But there was a period when I was the national squash champion in Ghana here.
No way.
No kidding, yeah, in the 70s, yeah.
He went to England to study for his O-level and A-level examinations. In 1962, Nana Addo returned to Ghana to teach at the Accra Academy Secondary School before going to read economics at the University of Ghana, Legon in 1964. He subsequently studied law in the UK. Akuffo-Addo was called to the Ghana bar in July 1975.
When the champion decided to do the Unigov, I remember he came and we were all very upset by the fact that he wanted to turn a military regime into a so-called democratic puppet regime. And he was outraged and told me that they were going to organize that time he'd come to settle in Ghana. I was still practicing my economics, commodities in London, and assured me that he was going to do everything possible with the forces which were resisting that. So in London I heard him through the grapevine that he was doing this, and then I was very, very proud of what he was doing.
At that time, what was in Ghana for him? You got a lucrative job in Europe. Your Akuffo-Addo's government has been overthrown by a military regime, yet he dropped all of that. Government was overthrown in 72. By 74, 75, 74, he had dropped all that to relocate and to be part of the leadership for the struggle against military dictatorship. I mean, to me, that, if like, sums up his patriotism and his selflessness. Because he sacrificed his self-interest for the greater good. And since then, he's been doing so.
He became the General Secretary of the People's Movement for Freedom and Justice, PMFJ, to oppose the General Champon-led Supreme Military Council's Union government proposals.
75. Oh, baby. I'll say, I'll be rolling some near me, or no, near was sorry, a dear tear. Or the Akuffo-Addo, Akabomuna, the demonstration, the Akuffo-Addo no leading. Hey, how could I ever be more? It will be chippy. I'm there, go ahead. If you are free mono, Akuffo-Addo, Nyansa, and the tear. And you, Koso. Na o padia, and yes, I will trust you, and the other. You have to fight for it.
In May 1995, he was among a broad group of elites who formed the Alliance for Change, which organized the Kumipreko demonstrations against policies like the introduction of the value-added tax VAT and the harsh economic conditions at the time.
Amen.
That's right. The problem that we have, the policies that the government has been implementing are policies that do not find favor with the general mass of our people, and that the mass of the people of this country have been systematically impoverished during the period of Rawlings's rule.
In 1998, at the Congress in Sunyani, Nana actually begged for the leadership of our party. So it's not only today that he's been trying, and it was unfortunate that he lost. But in spite of losing, because of his love for the party and his principled political position, he was one of the biggest campaigners for Mr. J. Akuffo. Unfortunately, then the party came to power in 2000.
Nana-Addo served as the Foreign Affairs Minister and Attorney General in the Akuffo government. He later became the flag bearer of the NPP, but lost the 2008 and 2012 elections, the 2012 election results, which he later challenged in court.
Recognize the signature that he was drawing your attention to. You remember,
Yes, I do.
You did not immediately recognize that. That's correct.
I've never been so flabbergasted in my life as to when the court ruled against him. He just sat in his study for a very short while, took his pen, took his paper, and wrote the most amazing speech, I think, of his lifetime, and went straight out to the lawn and delivered it.
Whilst I disagree with the court's decision, I accept it. I accept that what the court says brings finality to the election dispute. We shall not be asking for a review of the verdict so we can all move on in the interest of our nation. Everything in my bones, in my upbringing, And in what I have done with my life thus far makes it imperative that I accept a decision made by the highest court of the land, however much I dislike or disagree with it. I am saddened by the verdict, and I know that many of our supporters are saddened too. However, for the sake and love of our country, we must embark on a path that builds rather than destroys to deal with our disappointment.
Then I came back to Accra the next day when the announcement was made that we'd lost. I went straight to him. I would never forget this. He was in his bedroom, so I just went in, and he was sitting there as usual reading his novels. He's a great reader, you know, he loves novels. And then he looks at me and said, "Oh, T, so the people of this country wouldn't give me the opportunity for me to serve them." It was not because he's lost, but because he feels that he has a contribution to make to better the lives of this country.
Supreme Court was more kind. Then you makono. Then so may who don't. Majatumsa. That's what you told me. Woman who wanted. Woman is here. Paul was a majatum. Was of a never. We number never. And then a true way.
In terms of his humanity, there are very few people that I've met in my life. I mean, he is so kind. He's such a very generous person. Yes, very generous to the extent that he would give his last penny to the other person if it's necessary, and for him to just starve. You know, he has a very soft hand, as we say in G, you know, and in Samogo. And his generosity, sometimes I'm amazed. I mean, things that you think is very close to him, if somebody wants it, he'll give it away, just so that the person feels, you know, pleased with their souls. And he's one of the funniest people you can ever meet. He has a great sense of humor.
It was a time that I had a beard, you know, and he told me a story about when he was young and was practicing in France, in Paris, and he went to a meeting and, you know, he had a beard because he had a baby face and he wanted people to know that he wasn't a small boy, you know, which was something similar that I was doing because I wanted my cases to be called early in courts.
Akuffo-Addo is not materialistic. Addo wore the same trainers for about 2 elections until recently. I think Cabo, Tony Cabo and Pero Kujato thought, nah, we have to do something about it. So they went to buy all these latest Nike trainers and took the one Addo was wearing off his feet and put, you know. So now you see he was, if you see the last part of the campaign, he was wearing one of these latest, you know, designer because Perry and Cabo just thought, you know, he'd be wearing the same trainers for a long time.
Generally, I'm a big believer in literature, in history, love the arts. I'm very much into music, popular music as well as more classical music. I listen. I'm the generation of Motown, so I'm a firm fan of the Supremes, Temptations. Yes, you have it all. Teddy Prendergast and all of those people are very much part of my... So I listen a lot to music. I love cinema. In fact, there was a moment in my life, that's what I wanted to do, was to be a film director.
Let me tell you one thing, whether you believe it or not. Akuffo-Addo, he's lived in the UK. Akuffo-Addo doesn't even have a bank account outside of Accra. Okay? All right? He doesn't even have a credit card. You know, I'm telling you, he's that simple. People don't know, but he's that simple. You know, he's not driven by materialism. He's made a lot of money, but what did he do with his money? He gave free service, what they call pro bono publico, for the good of the public as a lawyer. He educates, underprivileged children. He spends his money on his political party. Okay? He could have owned about 12, 13 houses, but he's built just one house. One house. As East Legon. I'm saying, I probably even have more houses than he has. But I'm saying, and then what he inherited from his father, he has improved upon it.
I remember one day we spent an hour in his office when a relative of ours who had led quite a, called Chaleo Pokwa Champong, who had led quite an extraordinary life. But I remember Nanato laughed a lot during that period because he loved the way Chale bumbled through life, like a cat with 9 lives.
So you go into the campaign rally and you say to Akuffo-Addo, pick up this child for the cameras. He won't do it. Unless, I mean, he'll tell you Gabi is contrived. I said, no, but politics, a lot of it is contrived. He's too real sometimes for a politician, if you ask me. Because you want to stage manage him, he's not interested. But he will do things. So you just have to, if you're a cameraman, you have to be watching him, and when he does it, then you capture it. But you can't say, Nana, do this for the cameras. And he's too sincere for a politician. But he's maybe he's too sincere for our perception of a politician, if you like. But that's the kind of politician that we want, And if you look at his political career, he's been consistent.
Nanado's inspiration in politics is traced to the iconic political figures like his grand-uncle J.B. Dankwa, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and Professor Eduboahin.
The role model that has been guiding him is his grand-uncle J.B. Dankwa. To the extent that there is this emotion, it's as if J.B. Dankwa was his father.
Nana tells me, of course I wasn't there, that our aunties and uncles all went to JB, Grandpa JB, to say, look, go out of the country. They're going to kill you. Go out. I mean, because a lot of them were going into exile at the time. And he wouldn't listen to them. And Nanado was one of his favorites, really. I mean, if you've seen, there's a picture of J.B. Dankwa. Nanado was a page boy at his wedding. So that's how much he admired the boy, if you like, the grandnephew, if you like. And so they sent Nanado. I didn't know kasa TNT Anna. My and Nanado went to speak to him, and he repeated what he said to our uncles and aunties, that look, if he has to, and so it's that sort of thing where you've seen. I mean, he was brought up, he grew up as a kid around the whole movement for the struggle for independence. And he's seen, if like, the man who eventually was described as a doyen. At that time, he had already been described as a doyen because the Watson Commission report had already come out. As a doyen of the Gold Coast, saying that he would not go into exile for his own, for self-preservation. Okay, so those things, if you like, in building him this sort of patriotism, a sense of patriotism, and he's been with him all this while. So he means well.
The other person that had a great impact on him during his youth, of course, was Kwame Nkrumah. Nanado, at the time of the coup that dethroned Kwame Nkrumah, was actually speaking on a platform for Nkrumah. He was the leader then of the Marxist Forum at Legon, and I remember that he ran home when he learned of the coup with 2 different pairs of socks on. And my mother kept the socks for a very long time because he literally was hid in their room for a couple of days.
Now we are going to see the real leader in Akuffo-Addo, because when he goes around now saying he's going to realize the promises he made, one village, one dam, one district, one factory, you watch it. It's going to happen.
My biggest concern is that the people he selects to work with him give him and the people of Ghana the respect to serve with integrity, to serve with commitment, to serve with selflessness, and to serve with patriotism. That's what I pray for. Because at the end of the day, if we don't deliver for the Ghanaian, it will be a big shame.
His presidency is going to be driven by a great enthusiasm to achieve. He's a vibrant personality. He does not get tired. So the people who are going to work for him actually should be ready to work very hard.